What does the Scout Oath mean in today's world? Hey, ScouterStan, let's talk about this. This is something that should come up on a regular basis in every scouting unit. For a very long time, the Scout Oath was a little different for Cub Scouts than it was for troops. Now, every division uses the same. There's Sea Scouts, for instance, have a little bit different. There's some Sea Scout oaths and stuff like that. So it's a little bit different. But crew and troops and packs all use the Scout Oath. So that's the focus for this episode. And it's very important that we talk about this. This should be something that is continuously brought up because there's a flow of scouts through every unit. And we need for every scout to understand the Scout Oath. This is huge. Now, the origins of the Scout Oath is all based on what Baden-Powell wrote in 1908. So it's been around for a very, very long time. And it's not the same words. So we've adapted it a little bit and we've kind of fixed it in time. Three people were very crucial to that. And we'll discuss that. But my personal opinion is that none of the words should be altered or changed. I believe that the Scout Oath that was from the 40s and so on should remain the same. That's just the scouter in me. I want that tradition to continue. And there's no reason, even though we're in a digital age and everybody's boopity boppity on the on the gaming whatever, it's the same. You know, the Scout Oath falls in line even in today's world. Now, the origins of the Scout Oath kind of fall back to when Baden-Powell wrote Scouting for Boys. This was the very first run at an oath, or promise, as the British often refer to it as the promise. The Scout Promise and what Americans call the Oath are very similar. A lot of the wording can be pulled from there. Daniel Carter Beard and Ernest Seton actually worked on that for the American youth. And that was where we have the words that we use today. So it was very important that they adapt that. Mainly because when the first handbooks came out, a lot of that had to be rewritten for the American market. A lot of that stuff that Baden-Powell was working on was for the British market. And we'll get a little into that too. But that's really the way the words came together. And they still hold true even today. Now, if you're a regular of this channel, you know that I did a video on the three promises of the Scout Oath. So please check out the video and it will give you more information about the promises. Now, there are some words that are in the oath that we repeat at every scout meeting. It's important that we do that. That being the case, there's words like duty and honor. These have huge meaning even today with the youth. And it's very important that they understand the words that are in the Scout Oath. And we're going to go through all of that. But when you say honor, on your sacred honor, you hear that a lot. What kind of meaning does that have? These are the questions us scout leaders need to be asking the youth. What does honor mean to that scout? That's important. They need to understand with honor comes duty. Duty to others, duty to God and country. These are huge, huge words that are in the very beginning. So, something to really think about when you're talking with scouts. Ask them, what does that mean? Define that. Tell me, the scout leader, what that means, scout. That's the level of communication. You need to make sure that they're hearing the words and understanding it. This is a big thing about communications. There's listening and hearing. Two different things. They need to be hearing what you're saying. Not only the listening, but hearing and understanding the words. So important. Now, this is really important, and I want to make sure that we go through this and think about each one of these words that are in the Scout Oath. On my honor, I will do my best. Think about that. On your honor, the individual's sacred honor, you're going to do your best. Think about that. That is huge, because it's not I'm going to be perfect. It's not I will always be absolutely according to this. I'm going to try. I'm going to do my best. That is big, because so many scouts get upset because they something happens and they totally forget the Scout Oath. And then they think, oh, I'm in trouble. Yes and no. Yes, they should think about the scout, but they're not in trouble. They've just damaged their own little tarnish, little mud on it, their honor. That's where that comes through. It's a work in progress. That's really what those very first words mean. And that's true even in the digital world, okay? We have so much going on. This is very important for a scout to understand. To do my duty to God and my country. This is big. Scouting is a religious organization. Just got to go ahead and say that. It doesn't define what religion. That's up to the scout. But it is religious faith that we talk about when we say to do our duty to God and our country. We're talking about that. And that's a huge thing, even in today's society that's going on. It's so important. This is a faith-based organization. It doesn't define that faith. That's up to the scout. A lot of times scouts join a unit where their church or their synagogue, or they join there, and that's the focus. So it's a really important line. Country. I sit in Eagle Boards of Review and even ask scouts about the country. Have they seen the country? Have they visited Washington, D.C.? Have they seen all of the things that are out there in America? It's really important. And I always ask them, because if they're going to become an Eagle Scout, guess what? That in itself is an icon. It's like Statue of Liberty, Washington Monument, Eagle Scout, apple pie. It's an icon. They should represent their country, this country, America. And they should have a good opinion of it. And they should understand a lot of its problems and its qualities. So they need to have that balance. So that's huge. That line is gigantic. And it is the very first of the promises that we make. So, something to really think about. And to obey the Scout law. This section here is huge because they've tied in what we use as key words of the Scout law. And those key words have tons of meaning, tons of those things. So the balance of what you're promising on your sacred honor in the oath, or promise if you're British, what's in there is based on the rules or the law, the Scout law of those 12 key words. To help others at all times. Super critical for a lot of reasons. All scouts, all scout leaders, all parents should live by that. It's important. The community needs you to be involved, the community. And it's important to be aware of a lot of things and what's going on in your community. It's important to be aware of things like mental health and different things that could be going on with that. Within your community, there may be a population of people that are struggling with drug addiction, or there may be somebody that has a problem with addiction of any kind. And it's important as a community to reach out and help the what they call the fellow man, you know. And it's important that we're there to help others at any time. It is so important to keep that in mind. At any time, that's good and bad. So you got to help them all the time. So reaching out to your community, that's very Scout-like and very important. Now that can also be locked in to do a good turn daily. That part of the Scout oath can actually be related there. Small acts of kindness, getting a cart for somebody who's struggling with a cart, get a cart at the grocery store for them. Hold the door for people that are struggling with boxes or packages. There's infinite amount of nice things you can do at home and out in public that will help others. Little things, you know, they do add up. Helping others is not always physical. It could be as simple as just listening to your friend who's having an issue. That is very helpful. And giving good advice, giving them support. That's something that everyone should be able to do. And being a scout, being friendly and courteous, the Scout law, that plays into that. And being a good listener is so important. As we know, as communicators, you have to listen a lot more than you talk. And that is the key of really helping others. To keep myself physically strong, mentally awake, and morally straight. That's a big one. Okay? That's a promise to yourself. That's that third one. Okay? That is a critical thing. Physically, you got to eat right. You got to drink water. Okay? The diet stuff, the stuff with no calories in it, sugar-free water, okay? You need to do that on a regular basis. It's good for you. Making sure that your nutrition includes all the vitamins that you get in a daily supply of those. You got to walk. You have to stand more than you sit. These are big things. These are move around if you can. Now, I understand there are physically disabled people, and I'm one of them, so I know. I'm not going to run a marathon. I've ran my marathons in the past, but I'm still going to try to keep myself physically strong. That's so important. The next big one is, of course, mentally awake. And the only way you could do that is to listen to what's going on in the world. Watch, don't dive in so deep, okay? But get the information. That's the important bit. To be aware of what's going on in the world. That's so important that we as scouts and scouters are there and a part of it and understanding it. That's the thing. And getting that awakeness in our minds where we can understand what's going on. That's the big thing. What you do with that information is up to the scout. It's up to the individual. But to be asleep, turned off, disconnected, and they're just sitting there bippity boopity with their game, that's not being engaged. And that's the thing. Scouts are. They are aware. They see what's out there and what's going on, and they're aware of it. And that's the big thing about being awake. Now, the most controversial thing with the American Scout Oath is its last word. When the last two are spoken, it's morally straight. Straight is not what the 1980s defined it as, okay? No. Straight means consistent. Morally consistent. And the person who wrote that was Baden-Powell. Okay? He was from a very long time ago. And straight meant straight shooter, straight, he's need to know him because he can tell you the straight and truth, and straight and narrow. That's the thing. Morally straight, that's what that means. So keep that in mind. Morally straight, morals come from our Scouter's toolbox known as the Scout Law. Those are those 12 points that are in there, will keep you on that path. Hey, before we go any further, I want to make sure that you're invited to the campfire chat. Now, this is our live meeting we have each month on the first Sunday, starting at 9 p.m. Eastern Time. This is a fantastic way to get involved with live chat, and we have special guests. We have all kinds of neat things that go on. So definitely check that out. I also want to thank all of the Patreon members of this channel. In addition to that, I also want to thank all of the channel members right here on this channel. They have a fantastic group of people on this channel. They get a lot of perks. They get a lot of little icons and all kinds of neat stuff. But definitely check that out. If you're interested in becoming a member, definitely hit the little join button. It'll tell you more information. That's a great way to make this channel even better. Make it a part of what you do. And I'm so proud of you. We're just gonna jump right back in. Now, applying the Scout Oath to modern day, that's something that you need to think about. Those 3 big promises that we make in your honor, and it's a work in progress, okay? You have to keep all of that in mind. Today, there are people that are not mentally awake. They're focused in on the game, okay, or the boopity boppity thing. Or worse, they have their cell phone. I've seen videos of people so caught up in their cell phone that they're totally unaware of what's going on around them. They've walked into the mall fountains, into traffic. It's stunning. it's important in modern time to be mentally awake, aware of what's going on. Put the game aside. It'll be there. I guarantee you, it will be there. Put it aside when you're doing things like driving, okay, or walking in traffic. I mean, it is so important. Put that away. It will be there later, but it can distract you, and in so distracting you, could get you hurt or worse. So it's important that in modern time you look at it, the big picture, the whole thing. And with the Scout Oath, the very first one, God and Country, that is so important today. We have to get back to that focus. Faith is very important. It's critical. It's absolutely, it's a major part of who you are. That's a big thing. Country, we have to, it's one thing. You have to be aware of what's going on, but you need to vote. you need to donate blood, maybe. These are things you can do for your community. It's huge. So you have to look at it from the big picture. It's so critical to think of it in those terms. The Scout Oath comes into play with a lot of youth in scouting when there's a need for leadership. A few years ago, there was a train wreck where scouts were on the train and were able to give service to others to help save lives. And that's part of what they are. That's part of the Scout Oath. It's all a part of it. My own son had a problem with bullying, and it wasn't him that was being bullied, it was his friend. And he was able to use the Scout law, a Scout is brave, to stand up to those bullies and to explain to them and try to make sure that they were taken care of from teachers at that school. So that was something that needed to be done. There's countless examples. As an adult leader, you know these, and you hear them all the time. They come up, and even adults should be held to the Scout Oath. Okay, I get very upset at units when the adults, all the parents, are sitting in the back and they don't stand up for the pledge and they don't stand up for the Scout Oath and the Scout Law. I have a problem with that. They're in the meeting. They're not participating in the meeting. They're busy with their boopity boppities. But they should stand up. They should stand up and honor the flag when the Pledge of Allegiance happens, and they should say the Scout Oath and Scout Law because they're held to it also. They should use it too. The parents. Okay? Not just the Scouts. Scouting is not just for Scouts. I think it's for everyone. Everybody should be aware of that. And while we're on that subject, the Scout Oath is not a race to the end. Okay? It should not start off normal and get faster. Okay? Try to find a rhythm, because there are new Scouts that are trying to remember the words, trying to recall them and say them in the order for the oath. That's the thing. It's not a race. Okay? I've been at Scout meetings where you heard trustworthy at the beginning of the Scout Law and you heard reverend at the end, but everything in between was all one word. It was fast. Slow it down. Slow it down. Because in communications, it's important to listen. But what's more important than just listening to the sounds is understanding that. That's the critical thing. Actually hearing it, and it makes meaning in the mind. That's so important. So have your Scouts slow it down. And I'm not saying stop and yell at them or something like that. What I'm saying is you, as an adult leader, should have a very consistent rhythm with that. And if you're still going when they're done, maybe that says something. And maybe even going a little louder, so that you can be heard, so that they can actually hear or listen to what you're saying and understand. That's so critical to that timing. This is not just something that's out there. This is a lifelong code of conduct for everyone, not just Scouts. It's for everyone. And all you have to do is memorize the words. Now, a lot of things in scouting can be up for interpretation, but the words of the Scout Oath and the keywords that are in the Scout Law are not really, they should be listened to. You want to not just, you hear them kind of buzzing around, but they need to be absorbed. They need to be part of what you do. That is really important as far as understanding how this code, lifelong code of conduct, how it should be implemented in your daily lives. So if I missed anything, feel free to put it in the comments. I would love to hear from you. This is something that our community does. And so definitely put it in the comments. And that is something that I really make an effort to read over. I might not be able to reply right away, but most of the time I do. Now, before we wrap it up, I want to make sure that you know that there's a video on the Scout Oath and Law for everyone. Check that one out. It is a very important video. All of this series, this is the only one that I know of that actually goes over it completely word for word and trying to relate that to modern times. We do a lot for our Scouts, and this is one of those things. We need to be able to be relatable to what they do. So many Scouts aren't listening to the words. Okay, they need to hear them, and when they hear them through listening and actual communications, it's so important that they start to adopt these things into their daily lives. We know that as adult leaders, we work with the youth and to make sure that they do those things. Now, it's not exclusive to just Scout facing, okay? The board of review that your committee does, they should be asking questions about the Scout Oath and Law too. That's important. The youth need to get this more than anything else. This is the core values of scouting. So important to what we're doing, to creating these leaders of tomorrow. If we can install in them the toolbox of scouting, known as the Scout Oath and the Scout Law, they will succeed in anything they try to do. So keep up that good, hard work, and I am so proud of you. Please keep that up. If you'd like more information about the Scout Law, who wrote Scout Law, check that one out. Until next time, I'll see you on the trail.